right, everybody. I am so excited that we have Christopher Butts, the Chief Learning Officer from the Executive Leadership Council with us today. Chris, how you doing?
Hey, Elle, I am doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Thanks so much for coming. You know what? It's a winter storm out there. What is going on?
Girl, it is bad. It is tough. It's not good. And I'm located in Washington, D.C., and it's about to get worse the
Yeah.
next 2 days here for us. We're anticipating about 5 or 6 inches of snow. So I hope everyone over in Texas is doing all right. I know we have some people over there in Houston that are still without power for the past 3 days. So
Yeah.
thoughts and prayers are with everybody.
Yeah, we're like that too. It may not look like it, but I am over to a family member's house and they have electricity and we had to bring lights, camera, everything. The show must go on.
Let's go on. You make it happen.
Yeah, and Sunday when I looked at all of the temperatures, you guys were still in the 30s. We were in single digits in Dallas. Isn't
Well,
it
and
crazy?
I guess I won't complain about that then because we had an ice storm and it was like ice everywhere. It's like, oh my gosh, yeah, this is DC. I guess we're used to this, but hearing 17 or single digits over there, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
it
So
was
unfortunate.
-1 last night. So how's that?
You
But
win.
you know
You
what?
win. You win.
We're not here to talk about the weather. We're here to talk about the great work that you're doing with the Executive Leadership Council and also shed a little light on what that is. You've heard me talk about the ELC. In fact, it's in my book, No Thanks, 7 Ways to Say I'll Just Include Myself, a part of my origin story. And Chris does a lot of work to make sure that they are filling up the pipeline with tomorrow's cream of the crop rock star leaders, right, Chris?
Absolutely. We are focused on strengthening the pipeline of Black professionals to increase the number of Black professionals in the C-suite and on corporate boards. And I am in a very fortunate position where our department, I lead the department that does the learning and development portion of the ELC's work. We are, gosh, 35 years old this year and
Wow.
celebrating 35 years. And we are just so fortunate to be able to work with thousands and thousands of mid-career Black professionals to assist them with their progression in their careers. And couldn't be more proud of the work that we're doing.
Yeah, the ELC is so close to my heart, and to see it just catapulting despite the pandemic and even a winter storm is exciting to me. And we're going to get into that. But what do you say we have a culture soup moment?
Let's do it. Let's go for it.
All right. So, couldn't help but see it. It was a monumental moment, Chris, when Rosalind Brewer became CEO of Walgreens.
How
It
about
had
that?
been a lot to so many people, but especially Black women. Can you tell us why?
Absolutely. I mean, the only one in the Fortune 500 right now, the only Black woman as a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. It's an amazing move. We're so glad to see Rosalind, who is a member of the Executive Leadership Council.
Whoop, whoop.
So fortunate and glad, happy for her, and glad for what this represents and signifies for all of our Black professionals and our Black women, especially as they continue their career, hopefully to the C-suite and beyond.
Yeah, we hadn't seen one since Ursula Burns in 2016 when she retired. It's almost 5 years.
Yeah, it's been a while, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Um,
I spend a lot of time talking to our sisters about what it takes to get there despite the microaggressions and the biases and such. But you do a lot to train Black executives on the same topics and more, right?
yeah, so we are positioned and we're positioned for all of our learning programs to be unique and really be focused on the Black experience. So with all of our programs, we really like to address what's Black about it, and we don't allow um, the credibility of our programs to be jeopardized by any means. It's still the best frameworks, strategies, industry best practices, and we get to rely on so many of the ELC members to come in and speak to those as well, from their years of experience in the global 1,000 Fortune 500. But the one thing that everyone expects, and we've been really able to produce, is centering those frameworks and those models and those strategies around the Black experience, where
Yeah.
conversations of imposter syndrome or double consciousness or code switching don't come up by happenstance, but they come up on purpose because they're part of the design that we put in place. And if we don't have those discussions in a safe space, if we don't allow our instructors to have those real talk conversations and allow that peer-to-peer learning to take place amongst those mid-career professionals who are experiencing those things on a daily basis, we're just doing a disservice to our population. And my team and I just did not want to let that happen. So it is something that we are very cognizant of every single time we put any of our programs together, from a webinar that we have going on Mindfulness to Heal for Microaggressions, to our conference in October, our mid-level manager symposium, where we had over 5,000 people attend. I mean, everything is centered around that and focused around it. And we are really glad that we're a space for those professionals to be able to come for that development and have those conversations that sometimes they just don't get to have in a mixed
Yeah.
environment.
It was life changing for me. I'm a fellow twice over, came through Strategic Pathways. That's where I met Trudy Bourgeois, my mentor coach. Love her. Everybody knows that we have a relationship. She's in the book. She drops her wisdom.
Rudy is amazing. She's been
Yes,
very
she is
helpful for me
amazing.
as
She's one of
well.
the trainers there for Leadership Week that happens twice a year now, right?
It does typically now, since it's all virtual. It only happens once a year, but it's spread
That's
out
right.
over 6 weeks because we have 6 different programs that are delivered. So one program a week. But before the pandemic, and hopefully moving forward in 2022, we will have it delivered twice a year in
Good.
person, and we'll also do it virtually still in 2022. But this year is all virtual.
Well, I wanted to do the show for a specific reason. One, of course, the mission is so aligned with what I do. But then, two, I wanted to pierce the veil on what is the Executive Leadership Council. And you guys are doing a lot of work to do that too, by bringing some very high profile pop culture type names to your learning experiences. And then also, your marketing and PR is doing a bit more to kind of open up the kimono a little bit. Would you say?
Yeah. So part of part of the approach was really taking the experiences of these individuals who may be social influencers or who may be in the media or who may be celebrities, and taking their experiences and really crafting the conversation around development opportunities for our participants, for our mid-career Black professionals in a corporate space, because there's so many learnings that can still come from these different areas.
Yes.
And we wanted to ensure that what we're putting together is relevant, that it's interesting, that it's on the front edge of what's taking place, and that people can find great value in it. We by no means want to devalue our history, and we want to ensure that we're learning from that as well. And at the same time, we want to make sure that we're pulling from those resources that we have access to be able to have those conversations where we can take the lessons that they've learned in these different industries, in these different areas, and apply it to our progression, or to how we're moving Black professionals from mid-career to senior executive. I mean, having Kiki Palmer, having Elaine Welteroth, having Misty Copeland, Common. We have Janet Mock coming up
Oh,
in
that's awesome.
April during our Power of Women at Work program. So, I mean, we're really touching all points with them. I mean, and many, many others as we put these programs together.
And that does a couple of things. It not only, brings the relevancy, which is so important, but it also makes it a bit more accessible. I think in the past, I've gotten so many questions from people because they've seen me say ELC, ELC, ooh, life changing. And they're like, how do I get involved? What is this thing? Is it a secret? And it's been a really good, well kept secret, but not really a secret, wouldn't you say?
No, I heard the same thing when I came on board in 2019. It's like, wow, people would say to me, I hadn't really heard about the ELC, but I did a Google search and I saw your website and I saw the great things that you're doing, and I follow you now on LinkedIn, and it's amazing, it's great. And it's almost like people say the best kept secret. And I think our comms department is doing a phenomenal job of continuing to promote just the great work that our members are doing. I mean, yes, we are an organization, a nonprofit organization, but our members really drive everything for us. They drive the opportunities that we have to increase that pipeline, to be relevant within their different industries. And it's really just their push to make sure that we're promoting more of what's taking place within the organization, and making it more accessible to others, because many of our programs are open enrollment. Anyone is
Yeah.
able to attend. They are corporate development programs, leadership development programs designed in that manner. And if that's something that's of interest to you and something that you think you would benefit from, you're able to enroll. It just so happens that most of the time our members do such a great job speaking about their experiences and speaking about the offerings of the organization, that many of our participants come from the recommendation of members, or hearing from members themselves.
Yeah, so that's usually the tip that I give to folks. If you know, in the book, there are at least three voices in there that are all ELC members. Sid Marshall from the Dallas Mavericks, and of course, Cheryl Grace, who's from Nielsen, and Cheryl Atkins Green, and of course, Trudy Bourgeois. But they asked me, they're like, well, how do I even get involved in Leadership Week? The first thing I tell them is, you'd be amazed at how many members you actually know. You really just need to shake the trees on your community, and in short order, they're able to identify somebody at the company where they work or somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm sure if you're in that space, there is someone in your network that is a member, that you may not be very close with, but you know them. And worst case scenario, find the Executive Leadership Council on LinkedIn. I mean, our comms department, as I mentioned, they are doing such a phenomenal job of
Yeah,
promoting everything that's taking place within the organization, and all of the moves that our ELC members are making. And if you pay attention to those, you can really see um, who's making a difference within their different industries, and what organizations are really behind the movement. You can definitely see that quite a bit from what's posted on there.
absolutely. Now, y'all, um, Chris doesn't like to toot his own horn, and that's good. You know, it's probably not a good thing to do, but he's been doing some extraordinary work lately. And so I wanted to shine a light on it. It's very exciting that Leadership Week and even the webinars that you're doing, and you mentioned 5,000 people at the mid-level forum that you have, management forum that comes up in October that leads into the gala. But we've seen a spike in numbers despite the pandemic. Isn't that right? Attending?
Yeah, yeah. I think in total for 2020, we had about 9,000 mid to senior career Black professionals participate in our program,
Wow.
whether it was one of our 17 different webinars, or any of our development programs, or our conference. So we were very fortunate in that manner. But I also think one of the things that we were trying to do, and we had already positioned ourselves to start the webinar series that we did in 2020, but we were starting it March 24th. That was a date that we were already promoting in February and letting people know about it. So we had already put the calendar together, and we continued those webinars and that webinar series for, gosh, months. We went all the way until June or July, and I think we did one almost every week, just trying to be a source, a break from what was taking place for everybody, trying to adjust to working from home, to dealing or understanding the pandemic and what that entailed. And we just had different opportunities on different topics. And then we also had those within the medical industry provide some detailed information for everyone on their health concerns with the pandemic as well. So yeah, we saw an increase in those, and we were fortunate to have a great response.
Yeah, and you know, if you haven't been to one of their webinars, they're incredible. I had the good fortune to actually lead one, and the chat was hopping, and it was great information that we were able to share. I actually got to learn from the folks that showed up, and met a few
Yeah.
people from different companies that
And,
I wouldn't have met before. It's a
and,
great
and
networking opportunity.
yeah, and that's the thing, that the approach is the same for our webinars, and the desire for the safety of the community is the same, even for a 1 hour program, than it may be for a full week program. We want to make sure that everyone feels safe, that they know we're focusing on the Black experience and having that conversation about what's Black about it. And
Yeah.
this is the space for that. You can come here and say those things, have those conversations, ask those questions. And it's just a great safe space. And typically about 500 or 600 people will join us every month for those sessions now. So
You
it's great
know,
to have that community.
nothing beats. And I had the privilege of attending live back in 2016, 17, something like that, the mid-level management symposium, when Leilani Brown comes out on stage to James Brown, I'm Black and I'm Proud. And the first thing she starts talking about is what's Black about it. I felt like I was at home. This is a corporate family reunion. What was going on? It was crazy. It was great.
Yeah. I mean, there's no need to be shy about it, or not speak about it, or you know, push it to the side. Like, that's our focus. That's what we need to
Yeah.
be centered on and focused on. And if we can't have those conversations and share those strategies and those experiences, and how to overcome those obstacles and break through that Black ceiling here, where can we do it?
Right.
So we want to make sure we set that environment and that culture and that climate and that community to allow those things to take place.
Right. And I also want to just point out, this is what allyship is, folks. Chris, he's my frat brother, but he does a lot of work behind the scenes and he doesn't talk about it. In fact, he was very wary when I said, "Hey, I need you on the podcast." He was like, "Oh, let me go talk to some people. I'm not sure if this is the position. Let me just make sure." He was very, very much not trying to be out front. And isn't that what allyship is supposed to be? It's about to be about the walk, not the talk.
I mean, yeah, I would think so. I know there's a lot of posts and a lot of information out there about how to be an ally, and um, how to be supportive, and um, I mean, if it's truly what you believe and what you feel, and it's truly core and center to your values, getting the recognition or being in the limelight is not necessary.
Yeah.
And I find great value and great reward in what we do in our department, and um, being behind the scenes to help design it, or being behind the scenes to help run the production, being behind the scenes to make sure that those who get in front of the camera, like yourself, are prepared and ready, and not nervous to talk about what's Black about it.
Yeah.
I'm happy to do that, and happy to hear the experiences that others have. And it's great to know that I don't have to be in the front to be able to do that. So
Right,
I'm very
right. And so I thank you so much for being on the show. I want you to tell the folks you have a webinar coming up like within weeks, right?
Yes, we have a webinar coming up. It's the Mindfulness to Heal from Microaggressions.
Hmm.
And that's coming up this month. Next month, we have a new webinar series that we're starting. And Elle, we might have to have you on sometime.
Oh, I would love to. I would love to.
We are calling it Fellows on the Move,
Oh,
where we get the opportunity once a quarter to highlight our fellows, those who have been
hey.
through our programs, and give you shine and let you talk about the great things that you've done in your career to get to where you currently are, and how you navigated that path and that journey, and be able to share those learnings with the rest of our audience.
I love it. You know what? It is such a solid sisterhood that we develop just from that one session as strategic pathways. My sisters and I, after 5 years now, we are all in a group chat, and it is more hype now than it was even when we started it. And they are making moves. I'm so proud of them, but we support each other. And there's nothing like that experience to just watch people grow in what you guys planted in us.
Well, and that's the thing. The team and I really wanted the opportunity to highlight the great things that everyone's doing. And we're fortunate enough to be able to highlight on our LinkedIn page for the Executive Leadership Council the great things that our members are doing. But there are so many other Black professionals that we have in our community that are doing great things. And we need the opportunity to be able to give them a voice and give them the opportunity to highlight that and to celebrate them and to celebrate their wins. And this is that opportunity.
Well, I love it. You mentioned your comms team. The ones that are doing engagement are right on it. I never will forget when I contributed for Black Enterprise, I wrote some of the copy and content that would actually foreshadow the book. And in that one article about authenticity and bringing your whole self to work as a Black woman, the paradox between, the tropes that we get. And oh, by the way, we're not centered. How do we bring our whole selves? I had some of those same voices from ELC in that article. And guess who shared it? ELC Info shared it, and you even posted it on your website, which, I mean, that let me know, this is a connection that doesn't just expire after you have been at the events.
Yeah, I mean, it's our community. It's, I mean, when one of us wins, we all win, and we need to celebrate that. So when people are doing phenomenal things and we're able to catch wind of it, we want to put it out there. And we're so glad that the team is on top of that. And they may not have the opportunity to promote every single thing, but they really do a good job of promoting 95% of those things. So
they really do.
It's a community.
Great job.
Yeah.
So Chris, tell everybody where to find ELC online, because they're going to want to sign up for these webinars.
Oh gosh. Okay. ELCinfo.com is the website. The Executive Leadership Council is the LinkedIn page. And I think ELC Info on Twitter and on Instagram as well are also places where you can find them.
Fantastic. And Chris, can we follow you anywhere online?
LinkedIn. We're professional, right? We're corporate. So LinkedIn is my main social source. So LinkedIn, you can find me on there. Christopher Butts, Butts. I always feel like I have to spell my last name. Yeah, you can find me on there, and I'll definitely connect with you.
Fantastic. Chris, it was wonderful to have you on the show. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Elle. I appreciate it.
All righty. Okay.